Welcome to the Wing Life Podcast, where we talk about wing foiling and the lifestyles of those who enjoy this great sport.
All right. Hey, Willow, thanks a lot for joining me in the show today. Super stoked to talk to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Luke. So stoked to be a part of it and amping for this conversation today.
Nice. Actually, my brother's a kiteboarder here on Vancouver Island, and he's been practicing some strapless. So let's start there. But he's been practicing some strapless tricks for a little while, and so we're at home in Yuki, and he pulls up this video, and he said, "Man, you got to check this guy out. He just landed like a triple front roll." And I was like, "What?" So we watch you through this whole process. Man, it's phenomenal. Can we walk through a little bit of that for all of us?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, strapless freestyle is something that was basically when I was full on in my kiting zone before wing foiling kind of came about. Strapless freestyle was like my main passion, the main thing that I was like working so hard on. And, you know, it's such a fun discipline of kite surfing because, you know, one, you're on a surfboard. I've been surfing my entire life. I'm a surfer by heart, you know, so one, being on a surfboard is just epic. And then by not having straps, it just adds this new dimension of difficulty to it that can be so exciting. And especially with that triple front roll, which is, I would say, one of the hardest tricks in kiteboarding. It took me years to be able to do, and there's still only a handful of people that can actually do them. It was an epic day, an epic achievement to land it on the first time ever, which is possibly the video you've seen. And obviously I've landed it throughout the years going forward, and still land them every now and then, even though I'm not too much into the strapless freestyle with all the wing foiling that's going on these days. But yeah, it's just such a crazy trick, because if you really watch closely, what you're doing is you're jumping obviously without straps on a surfboard that's a little bit different shape to a traditional surfboard. You got chopped noses and a chopped tail, so it's really like a rectangular kind of square board, and that holds really well into the wind. So when you jump, you really position the board to stick into the wind and use your feet to continue holding it in that position. And by doing that, you can do one front roll. After one front roll, you can do two. And after two, then the third one gets really, really difficult. 4 hasn't been done yet. It was always my goal to be able to do maybe the world's first quadruple strapless front roll. But then wing foiling came about, obviously, and kind of got sidetracked from the strapless freestyle side of things. But no, I definitely love it. And recently I've been getting back into it. And yeah, it took me years to be able to do the triple. I think it took not so long to do the first front roll, but from the first to the second probably took at least 2 years. And from the second double front roll to the triple front roll must have taken 3 or 4 years, 3 years or something, like really going at it. And yeah, but now I have it muscle memory kind of, so it's a little bit more unlocked, but yeah,
it's dialed.
Frustrating.
Yeah, man, we were so impressed. I know you started surfing super young, but I'd love to learn a little bit more about how you got into water and wind sports. That'd be really cool to find out.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously, it's actually a long story. So basically, I grew up in South Africa until I was 6 years old. I was born in South Africa, and that's where we were raised until I was 6 with my 2 brothers. Then we moved to Taiwan when I was 6 years old, stayed there we were planning to go for 1 year, ended up staying for 4 years, adopted my youngest sister from there. And once I was around 9 years old, my dad was like, or my family was like, you know, we really want to spend our life at the ocean by the sea, because that's what he grew up with. You know, being from Durban, South Africa, it's a lot around sports, about surfing, about being in the ocean, and that's really what he wanted for us. And my grandmother was born in Mauritius and raised in Mauritius most of her life, so we could get our citizenship and move here quite easily as a South African family. So once the whole adoption and everything was done with my sister and all finalized, we ended up moving to Mauritius with our whole family. And as soon as we arrived, I got straight into surfing at the age of 10, and that's literally what I did together with my 2 brothers every single day. I was the oldest, and 10 years old, I'd walk down to the beach with my 2 brothers. We'd have our surfboards under the arm, or one surfboard back then, and just spend every day in the ocean. And we grew up all homeschooled, technically unschooled. Most people probably don't know what it is. But yeah, so we never went a single day to school in our lives, and we just spent every day at the beach. Or at least I spent every minute, every hour at the beach. And yeah, so from then on, I surfed for the first 4 years or so. And actually, funny enough, like I never wanted to get into kite surfing. One of my best friends, Taylor, was like really pushing me into getting into kiting. And I was like, no, bro, stick to the roots, stick to surfing. My goal and my dream was to become a professional surfer and just travel the world surfing. And then he's like, no, come on, dude, just try it. Like Mauritius is one of the best places for it. You have to give it a go. So eventually I was like, okay. So at the age of 14, I went down and I started learning with them, and had many different instructors that taught me. At Le Mans, I was just like bouncing around through people, and then one guy, Remo, really helped me get into the kite surfing and managed to like get me riding upwind and cruising. And from then on, it was just like nonstop. I was down at the beach. I used to take the bus at 6:30 in the morning when my dad would leave for work. I would get on the bus at 14 every single day, 45 minutes or an hour maybe, get to Le Mans, hitchhike from there, where you have to like, there's this turning point to get to the beach. It's like 5Ks from the bus stop. So you have to hitchhike. So I'd hitchhike with my board or with my kites and my lunchbox and food. And I'd just go down to the beach every single day. And I just did that in and out for years and months and months and months. And just knowing that, this is what I want my life to be. I always dreamt of being a professional surfer, being a professional in the ocean, and just living that dream. And pretty much soon after I started kite surfing, like around 6 months or so, I told my dad, no, I need to get sponsored. Like I broke my kite that I bought for about 100 euros. And that's all I could afford at the time, by selling little things that I was creating and making. And sold that, I bought that kite for 100 euros, it broke. And then I told my dad, no, I need to find a sponsor. And then a local shop gave me a kite to use. And I really believed that from a young age, in a theory called the 10,000 hours rule. I'm not sure if you've possibly heard of it.
Yes.
But basically, they say it takes 10,000 hours to master a certain skill or a certain, or to master any kind of skill, sport, or whatever it is, until you can either earn from it or live from it, or basically be a master at it. It's about calculated it to be about 8 hours a day for 4 years. So it's kind of like studying a degree. So I'd often work this out with my dad, and I was like, I need to get my 10,000 hours in. I went down every single day to the beach, and eventually, it paid off. And after about 9 months of kiting, that's when I met Core, who's been my main sponsor since almost 10 years. And that's kind of where it all began.
Oh man, that's awesome. Congratulations on that, by the way, because you put in a lot of work.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's what it's about, Like, I really strongly believe in that 10,000 hours rule, because I've literally lived it and done it, and I repeat it for everything I do in my life. And, I literally would sit in my bed counting with my dad, like trying to calculate, okay, I would take the bus and I would go down to the beach, and I would watch YouTube tutorials of kite surfing, and literally spend every single day. If it wasn't kite surfing, then it was surfing. But all of it combined was helping me to get to my goal, which was to become a professional kite surfer and travel the world. And then at the age of 15, when I got sponsored by Core, my first trip was to Hawaii, and then it just didn't stop. Going to Brazil, Cabo Verde, South Africa, Europe, and it just never ended, and still till today, almost 10 years later, I'm still traveling the world with Core.
Oh man, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy when I think back at it sometimes, because I live so in the moments of just every day, things are going on, and you're constantly moving. And now, like, sitting back and like actually going back and thinking about it, it's just like, it's so crazy to think of.
So did the love of kiting kind of just ignite fairly quickly once you got on it? Like, what was that moment that'll say, you know what, let's combine this wind and rather than just surf?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, because for me, what I got to a point in surfing that I was quite okay and quite good. But in Mauritius, there's a bit of like a kind of, I don't know, stigma, let's say, or some kind of, let's say, bad vibes in the water here. There's a lot of localism, and it's just not really a cool atmosphere to, be a part of, and it's something I'm trying to change on the island and trying to really empower the youth and the younger community that, you don't have to have bad vibes in the water. But that's a whole nother topic, and I don't really want to get into that kind of stuff. But what I really found with kite surfing is that everyone was so cool and so helpful at the beach and so positive and so amped, especially that we had tourists from all over the planet coming here to kite surf, and then slowly learning that it's one of the best destinations on the planet, and literally thousands of people fly here to experience what I have basically in my backyard. And just the community of people down at the beach really just got me hooked and so motivated on kite surfing, because everyone helps each other. You need someone to help you launch, help you land, watching out for each other, helping you on the water. And I think through that, it really got me excited and really hooked to embrace, kite surfing to its maximum.
Yeah, that makes sense, because I windsurf and my brother's a kiteboarder, and whenever I've gotten in trouble on the water, it's been the kiters that have towed me to shore.
100%.
We're all out there together. We're all having fun together, and it's a different, it's a complete community feel, and that's what I love about it as well. We've talked about it a few times on the podcast, but so how I guess meeting that goal of competing on tour, how was that a little bit? We talked about it a little bit, but what was that like? Grabbing your gear, getting all that stuff organized, heading to one event, heading to another event, seeing all these different spots.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. So like, it's been an interesting time, because for a long time when I first started at 15 traveling with Core, most of it was actually for photo shoots and campaigns and all of that for the brand, and not too much actually for competitions. It's interesting, Core, funnily enough, isn't too into competitions, and they were actually not say holding me back, but let's say not pushing me to go into events. They were super chilled if I wanted to do it. If I didn't want to do it, they never pushed me. And the founder of Core, Bernie Hiss, he actually was always saying, like, competitions are where you have the most accidents, where you probably get the most injured, because you're pushing yourself in maybe not the best conditions or not what you used to. And so all of that was kind of implemented into my thought process of should I compete or shouldn't I compete. And so the first years was mostly just traveling with Core, going to different locations, different events, maybe not competitions, but events maybe for expos or kite demo events and all of those kind of things, but mostly focused on photo shoots. And once I got a little bit older, like around 16, 17, 18, then I started competing a bit more and more selective on the events that I wanted to do, like Germany, Spain, Mauritius, Cabo Verde, and like, specific events that, I was keen on and frothed to go and give it a go. And I must say, like, always the events went super well and I did quite well, but it was never like, I never had that kind of competitiveness in me, and I really thought to myself, would speak to myself basically and say, like, unless you're going for like number one to be the best in the world or world, champion, like what's the kind of point of like just following it, to be in the top 10? I mean, some people, that's their motivation and it's epic and it's awesome. But I had kind of different things in mind, and kind of more like a free surfer, free rider path, and luckily enough to be a part of a brand that's also believed in that side of things, so throughout my, let's say, kite surfing, kiteboarding career, it's mostly been as a free surfer, free rider, and I mean, if you can call it like a photo shoot rider. I've been pretty much to every single photo shoot that's happened with Core in the last 10 years. And so it's been very interesting to experience the other side of it and learn more from the industry side than, let's say, the competitive front end, media attention side. So it's been an interesting journey, I must say.
Yeah, I don't doubt. And when did you find wing foiling for the first time?
So wing foiling, funny enough, like it was something I was hooked on straight away from, because I was really into hydrofoiling. Once that whole thing started, straight away I was working with Unifoil from South Africa. I met Clifford, who was the founder of Unifoil, and started working with him. As South Africa and Mauritius are very close, so he would send over prototypes and all the surf foils, and I just really got hooked on the surf foiling thing. And then I think it was when I saw like a lot of people, when we saw Kaileni get into it and really like do some pretty epic things, the first jumps and showing the speed that you can go on the hydrofoil, surfing waves, and then getting into backflips. Like, I think once I saw Kaileni getting into it, that's when I was like, I need to do this. Like, this is what I have to get into, because I was already like fully hooked on surfboarding, and I was surfboarding almost every day. And I was like, okay, no, I need to get into the sport. So yeah, pretty much from the beginning, I would say, when you could get the first commercial wings, I think I had the first wing from Ozone. And as the Ozone team does a lot of testing here, and I got one of the first wings that they made. And from then on, I was just fully hooked.
How was surfoiling the first time you did that? Like, how was that different feeling compared to being connected to the water? Because that's the first thing I felt the difference. Like, windsurfing, boom, you're on there, you're connected, and then foiling is just like this magical like little carpet ride. It's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. It's such a unique feeling, and it's a feeling that you don't get anywhere else besides for wing foiling, of course. Flying on top of a wave and surfing a wave and not feeling the chop, but still feeling the energy, and you can be riding a 1.5, 2 foot wave and banking a huge carve or a turn, and it feels like you're going down and carving on a 6 foot face, and it was, just such a interesting feeling. Obviously surfing for such a long period of time, and then now having a new era of surfing and a new kind of, let's say, discipline of surfing was super cool to get really involved in that. And it also opened up new possibilities of doing backflips and doing massive airs and all of that, which were way easier than to do on a surfboard, for example, like a rodeo flip. It's like almost impossible unless you're pro or something.
Fair enough. So what kind of moves are you working on in your wing?
Oh, so on the wing foil at the moment, I've just been mostly into the wave riding side of things. Mauritius has some of the best waves in the world, and growing up here, obviously kite surfing and surfing, I've had it right on my doorstep, and so over the years, I've built up so much knowledge about these waves and where every single channel, coral, where every single rock is on the face, every single section. I know the waves so well. So getting onto a wing and going out and riding those waves, I know it like the back of my hand, so it's been pretty epic to experience all of a sudden getting onto a wing, getting pretty good quite quickly as I've already surfboarded and kite surfed and surfed. It's now just like kind of unlocking a new discipline of water sports and just straight away getting into huge waves out here in Mauritius, same ones that I would kite, after only a couple months wing foiling, so it's been, mostly my focus to get into the wave side of things. And I have done a bit of freestyle, but it's just not I haven't really kind of got hooked yet on the freestyle side of things, interestingly enough. I think if I lived on a lake or a place with flat water, or maybe in Europe or something, I'd definitely be in the freestyle. But as I have like world-class waves almost every single day, especially when you foil, like anything works. And here you got point breaks, no matter the size. So it's kind of hard to motivate myself to go attempt a couple backflips and get smashed out there,
No, fair enough. And you don't have to. Like, if everybody had those beautiful waves, I think they would do the same thing.
No, I'm sure. And that's why plenty of people come here, for the wing foiling. And then funny enough, this is the busiest I've ever seen it with wing foilers. I was down there the other day and I counted, I think it was like 40 or 45 wing foilers. And Le Morne is not an easy spot because it relies a lot on the tides. So if it's too low, obviously you're just hitting the sand all the time. And sometimes there's also some coral in the lagoon, so you might scratch a foil. So a lot of people are a bit like skeptical because they don't want to like scratch their brand new carbon foil that they just got and they've kept in like perfect condition. And so it's been quite cool to see so many people actually coming over. And so you just got to time it a little bit. But otherwise, it's been great to see so many people getting into the wing foiling and almost see sometimes more wing foilers on the water than actual kite surfers or windsurfers.
It's been the same thing out here. I think there's just been a quick explosion of people who were windsurfing before and didn't want to windsurf anymore. They want to try something new. And then some kite spots were hard to launch from, so they started winging. And I don't know, it's a pretty awesome feeling. So super stoked to see more people just do something that brings them joy, right? Because I think that's what we need right now, and especially after COVID and trying to have more people experience the same stoke that you have, and that I have, and that we all have for this community. I think that's what makes it the most special.
Definitely. And I think what's so cool actually about wing foiling, or one of the things I love the most about it, is that people feel safe and less intimidated to learn compared to kite surfing sometimes, as kite surfing can be quite intimidating, especially for young people or women that, feel that the kite can overpower them, which it can, depending on the places that you learn and the conditions that you learn in. But, with wing foiling now, you let go everything, you let go your wing, you let go your board, it just falls into the water, and you chill. You can paddle, you can move away, you're not going to get flung into a tree or smashed into the beach or something like that, and I think that's one of the things that I find so interesting about wing foiling, because it just opens it up to so many more people, let alone people that are just wanting to go with a wing and an SUP on a lake or on their skateboard or something like that, or on the snow, for example.
Wing skating, super fun. Like if you're on a frozen lake or whatever, and snow too, really, really fun to do.
Really, eh? I've never tried it on the snow yet. I'm dying to get into the snow with a wing. Like I literally, I think I've been watching on Instagram. There's those guys, I think called sickos or something. I'm sure you've seen them going off in the snow and like jumping with the wings. And I've been since the beginning. I mean, I'm not a good snowboarder or anything like that. I've done it like twice in my life, but I love it, and I love the feeling, and I can just imagine with the wing what can be possible. And I'm sure we're going to see some pretty crazy things one day. And I have one or two things in mind, and I need to meet the right people that are like at least really good at the sport, that'd be amped to give it a go. But I can just imagine going into like a massive half pipe on a snowboard or on skis, and launching. I don't know. Got some crazy things in mind that would love to see one day with the wing.
You got some ideas?
Definitely not for me, because I'm nowhere close to being good enough on a snowboard yet.
Hey, fair enough. Well, if you ever want to come out to the west coast of Canada, just hit us up. Like, we're super close to a lot of mountains, so happy to show you around. Yeah,
that'd be super insane. Love it.
Nice. So not only are you still obviously a pro kiteboarder, loving winging, but you have a lot of passion projects as well that I did a little bit of look up on you, and I was really impressed with how you want to cultivate community, but then how you want to give back to that community and help. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about that, and maybe the projects that you're working on right now.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks I'm stoked that you see it and that people notice, and it's something that's very close to my heart, as that's one of the most things I'm passionate about, helping people, giving back, and empowering people is one of the things that I think kind of, how do I say, most valuable to me, that if that's something I can give or I can share, I think that's what I cherish the most in life. And seeing what sport can do for people, not only how it's impacted my life, it's changed my life in a way that I would never have expected when I was a kid. Obviously you can dream and you can imagine what you could be one day, but actually achieving it and actually living that dream of yours has like kind of flicks on a switch in my head, that actually, I want people to be able to feel the same way and know they can achieve it. So I'm very into helping different organizations, different schools. And, just recently in the last year, we started our own nonprofit organization called Surf to Serve. The main mission with Surf to Serve is to collect used surf equipment, for example, wetsuits, surfboards, kites, wings, foils, whatever it is that we can take to places that are rural, like in Madagascar or Mauritius or South Africa, mostly working in African region for now. Hopefully one day the whole world, but for now focusing on the places that we can have the most impact today. And one of them is obviously Mauritius, as this is where I've been based, and where it's very close to my heart. And so using Surf to Serve as like as a hub where people can, whether they want to donate a wetsuit, a surfboard, or whatever it is, we can bring it over here and give it to the kids that are in need or that haven't had the opportunity to get into the sport or get into surfing, wingfoiling, or kiting. and hopefully inspire them to believe that they can be anything that they want to be, and, you know, really give them the dream and the hope that, you know, and show them that literally I've done it and they can do it too, you know. With a bit of hard work, a bit of passion and dedication, you can achieve anything. And so that's kind of my mission at the moment, and where I want to go with my whole kitesurfing, wing foiling, and career in water sports, is to inspire the younger generation, the generation that kind of needs it most. And alongside that, we obviously supporting local organizations here. That there's another organization called Surf Surfers, which we give a lot of the equipment that obviously get donated to Surf, as they look after a bunch of kids, and local kids from Tamarin Bay, which is the main surf community of Mauritius. And once on the weekend, they meet with them every Saturday, and they take them surfing and kind of educate them about not only about surfing, but about life in general. You know, like most of these kids are coming from really tough situations, whether it's obviously living conditions, or, you know, health conditions, or whatever it is. You know, a lot of them are coming from very impacted backgrounds. And so as much as it's hard enough to just work with them and to be able to get through to them and to inspire them, it's been such an epic journey to be able to see the progress and see how a lot of them are like flourishing from it. You know, there's a few guys that I remember teaching how to surf with this organization maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago, and now literally they come in kite surfing with us on the weekend at our center, and, you know, absolutely crushing it, doing kite loops and back rolls, and wanting to get sponsored, going into wanting to compete. And, you know, it's so crazy to see how far kids can come with a little bit of, you know, energy and hard work and passion driven into them, you know.
Oh yeah, kids they're at such a precious place in life that with the right guidance and the right help, they can achieve absolutely anything. And I think mentors and people who are surrounding them play such a big role in helping with that development. So it's really nice to see that. And there's a lot of athletes and there's a lot of people who do. So it's really nice that they take on that role.
Yeah, I know, for sure. And I think like everyone that maybe does have it in them, you know, that really wants to give back. And, you know, it can be just small little things, you know, and it's crazy what it takes to inspire a young kid that feels like they have no opportunity in life, you know, and you reach out to them and you give them your hand and you push them into a wave, and how that one little moment can inspire them for hopefully the rest of their lives is something quite special. And that's a kind of a feeling that I really kind of aspire to keep on pushing. And I have this like kind of quote that I live by, and it's called: the act of giving continues giving. And I really believe that, you know, by giving whatever it is, whether it's a donation, whether it's support, whether it's a helping hand, whatever it is, you know, that continues, you know, that person will pass it on to the next person, and that person will pass it on to the next person. It's a never ending cycle of giving. And so that's what I live by, and that's what I always make sure that I stay true to, you know, and always come back to that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Who were your mentors in your life to help you think this way and to embrace life in this way?
So it's actually a super interesting question, as I've had one mentor in my life since kitesurfing started, and his name's Thomas Borblies. He's one of the main photographers from Core and one of the first original team riders from back in the day. And actually met him here in Mauritius, pretty much in my backyard. There's a local beach where it sometimes works with a certain wind direction. And when I was 14, almost 15, I met him basically at this beach, and he saw me a couple of times karting and stuff, and saw the kind of person I am. And, you know, he really thought I'd fit into the team. I don't think he thought I'd fit in as well as I have now. But, you know, I'll never forget, he gave me this card, and he said, if you ever want, his email that he wrote on, and he said, if ever you want to go further in your kite surfing, you must just send us a message and get in touch. And straight away I went home and I sent an email with my dad to Thomas. And, you know, since then on, literally he's been the main mentor in my life. He's a very interesting person to talk to listen to. And, you know, it's been so epic to be mentored through the last 10 years with him and, you know, actually become extremely close friends, you know, over the last couple of years, you know. So he's been, yeah, obviously like a main kind of mentor in me and played many different roles throughout my life through every single up and down and sideways, left and right. So yeah, it's been a pretty cool journey, and I think it's super, super helpful and beneficial and yeah, amazing to have such a kind of mentor, you know, because, you know, I think that's what, especially people that are, you know, coming from, let's say, these difficult backgrounds as I've been talking to, all they need is, you know, someone that stands by them and keeps on pushing them. And, you know, that's how he's been for me. And now I want to be that to this generation of kids that I can hopefully inspire. So, yeah, I think having a mentor is something I'm truly grateful for sure.
Awesome. Have you seen a big change in the kids generation-wise on Mauritius? It's a smaller spot. Have you seen people more staying indoors rather than enjoying? Has there been that kind of a shift there?
Yeah, I mean, I chatted a lot about it to one of my good friends, Luca Pito. He's also from Mauritius, and he's also a professional kite surfer and wing foiler. And him and I always chat because back when we were younger, we're the same age, and when we were younger, him and I and maybe one or two other guys were really like pushing it and trying to, you know, go out of Mauritius and travel and to really try and get international exposure coming from like a very small island, you know. And we often talk about it these days that there aren't too many kids, you know, that are around that are kind of taking our positions. And I would love to see that more, you know. I'd love to see kids that are like fighting for my place or my sponsor, or, you know, saying, hey, I'm going to be the next, not next Willow, but I'm going to be the new generation coming from Mauritius. And it's kind of sad to see that there aren't those kids, or not many of them. Now we're starting to see more, a couple more, which is really cool, seeing some younger kids getting into it. But it's quite surprising that there's not more. But yeah, I'm really working hard to inspire like younger kids to get into the kite surfing. I'm like, guys, you live in one of the best destinations on the planet. Yes. With the best waves. You can become literally the best kite surfer ever.
Yes.
And somehow they're not interested. But there are more and more kids getting into it, and it is difficult because kite surfing is obviously, and wing foiling itself is also quite an expensive sport. And I know how hard it was when I was a kid getting into it, and, you know, with prices and everything going up, it can be difficult, you know. And so I meet so many kids, and I'm not even joking. Like, sometimes I give kids hitchhiking with a surfboard under their arm going down to the mall, and I tell them this is exactly how I started. And I said, if you go every single day and I see you kite surfing and I pick you up a couple times, I said, I'll sponsor you, you know, I'll get you sponsored. And, you know, because I want to see other kids, you know, I know how hard it is going to the beach every single day, hitchhiking, waiting for a lift, if it's raining, if it's sunny, no matter what the conditions are like. And if I see you going down, I'll sponsor you and make sure that, you know, I can mentor you and, you know, bring you into a direction, hopefully, that you can succeed in whatever your dreams are, you know. So yeah, I'm still waiting for that kid. I've told that to a couple. None of them have contacted me yet to see them again, but there will be for sure, and I'm waiting for it.
Oh, I think it's definitely going to happen, and maybe, it might take a little bit of time to find the right one, but it'll definitely happen. Hey, let's talk about your school. When did you launch that?
Yeah, so, I mean, we started pretty much a year ago now. I've started a school in Mauritius together with my two brothers. So this year was actually our first proper season. The school is called Willow Surf Centre. It's obviously, you know, by me, but, you know, for everyone that's, you know, into water sports, want to get into water sports. For me, it's creating a surf centre which people can, you know, come to and experience the sports in, you know, a unique way. You know, like I've been kite surfing and wing foiling and surfing my whole life, you know, and I've learned so many little things along the way that I really want to implement that into the way we teach, the way people can learn, and the experience that they have in the sport when they're learning it. You know, because kite surfing can be a very extreme sport. It can be dangerous, and it does intimidate people in the beginning. But there's a few ways to do things that can be, you know, much less intimidating, much less scary, you know. And it's the same with wing foiling. You know, with wing foiling opening up at the moment, It opens up so many possibilities for people that never would have thought they would ever give, let's say, a wind water sport a try, kite surfing for a lot of people, especially women, can, the first times be quite scary, as, if you're a very light person, you can be scared that the wind's going to take you and everyone thinks that you're going to fly over a tree. It never really happens. But, with wing foiling, you can just let go your equipment, sit in the water. The worst thing that can possibly happen is that you get pushed back to the beach because it's onshore, So it's been great to work with my two brothers, and we've had obviously a couple people working with us this season. It's just so cool to see the positive feedback from people coming to learn with us, coming to experience this with us, coming to kite with us or wing with us. It's just so cool to be able to now host a place where I can offer something for people to learn what I'm so passionate about, and that's for me, I think was the main thing why I've been wanting to start a school. It never really was like my long-term vision. I never thought, one day I'm going to open a school. I actually quite thought the opposite. I never wanted to be that kite surfer or that wing foiler that eventually, gets old. I mean, I'm still only 24, but gets old and starts a school and kind of retires in their school, and kind of works in that. For me, it's about like pushing it and, creating new ways to maybe find to teach or to experience the sport and offer people to enjoy the sport, and, bringing in like the youngness that I have and the excitement and drive that I have into this, I think is my mission. And together with obviously my two brothers, it's just been so epic to do exactly that.
Yeah, that is pretty sweet to be able to do that with family. Whereabouts is your school on Mauritius?
So we're located on the southwest coast, so at Le Morne itself, the place that I've obviously grown up kite surfing and wing foiling over the last decade. For me, there's no better place on the island. It's paradise. As I've spoken about this before, it offers so much, especially now with the school. It just, you have so much to offer. You have obviously the Le Morne Kite Lagoon is where we're situated, which is just around the corner from the main beach where you have One Eye, Manawa, and all the famous waves. So it's a 5-minute drive or a 10-minute upwind tack, and you're at an onshore spot where it's super safe, quite shallow, but still deep enough for wing foiling, especially if you're just having beginner lessons on a short mast. And then, once they start to progress, they can use the whole lagoon, which is, it's kilometers wide, that there's plenty of space for even a couple hundred kite surfers and wing foilers to all enjoy themselves, And then once you start to get a little bit better, you wing or kite over to the side, and you in Manawa, Small Reef, One Eye, and all the famous waves that Le Morne has to offer, So it couldn't be better situated on the island, And my dream is obviously to open up other centers around the island, for example, on the north coast, the east coast, the south coast, because there's many amazing spots that Mauritius has to offer, and it's not only in Le Morne, but obviously for the first one, Le Morne is my home. It's my home spot. I know it like the back of my hand. I know every single little rock that's on that wave, that's in the water, that's in the lagoon, So for me, it couldn't be a better place to start this whole thing.
Yeah, I just love your stoke around it. I think that's the transference of joy. Like there's a lot of spiritual practices and the transference of joy of learning something, mastering it, and then having the opportunity and making the choice to help give that to other people so that they themselves can carry that forward in their own lives. It's such a big thing. And I don't think it should be understated of how much stoke there is behind that, and the fact that you can bring some family love into that too. So just wanted to give you a bit of kudos for that. You are still young and you're not retired at the beach yet, but I think it's pretty cool that you're choosing to do that, even for this, for right now.
Yeah, for sure. It gives me drive and it gives me another purpose, and for me, my life is around and revolves around water sports. And, for me, anything that's a part of it is just excites me, and, obviously business is a completely different thing to being a professional kite surfer, but there's so many, kite surfer and wing foiling and all of the water sports combined, but there's so many things that you learn from being, let's say, a professional waterman, that can also translate into a business side of things, that it's so interesting for me to see the similarities in a lot of stuff, and, I used to underestimate, what kite surfing and what I do is all about. I kind of take it for granted that I just travel around the world, and obviously I'm super grateful for the life to be living, but there's so many little things that I start to slowly realize, just what kite surfing and also wing foiling and surfing and everything. When I say kite surfing, I'm meaning everything in the whole.
Everything.
But there's so many things that I learned from those sports that like it's the center of everything. It's the center. That's why I call it Willow Surf Centre, is because surfing creates a center that people can come to experience life, that they can experience joy, happiness, struggles, everything together. And for me, it's just so amazing to see that this brings it all together. Kite surfing, business. There's so many things that are similar. You struggle in both, you work hard in both, and now combining the two, I'm just like, actually, it's the same thing, just in a different field. You still have to go on the water every single day if you want to land that triple front roll. You still need to go every single day to make sure your business is running and continuing. So it's been very interesting to put those two together, especially because it's a surf center, a kite surf center, wing foil center. And now put those two together, and just my mind is just constantly spinning at 100 kilometers an hour, just learning and understanding things, and it's so exciting. I'm not sure if it makes sense, but like you said, there's so much more to kite surfing, wing foiling, and surfing than just getting out on the water. There's so many little things around it that, like you said, the spiritual connection that you have with it, the motivation that you get from it, the drive that you get, the struggle, the suffering, all of that is just all a part of it. And I guess that's what gets everyone hooked in their own ways,
Yeah, I think that's for me, for the biggest thing that it enabled me is I didn't think I could succeed in other areas of my life. And then through the trials and tribulations of windsurfing and winging and all the wipeouts and all that, and then all the joy, it would recenter me. It would give me my new center. And then from there, I could then go and slowly take that and dump it into the business area or dump it into another area that I was struggling with. Because I say, well, if I can do it here, and if I can overcome my fears and connect and see all the joy behind some of those fears and all the work dedication, well, it's the same thing in another area, which is kind of exactly what you were saying.
Yeah, 100%. It definitely is. It's really amazing, and I could talk about this for ages, but it's exactly how you just said it. And I get so stoked and excited when I start talking about this kind of stuff, because it really fires me up.
I think that's sweet that it does, because we had talked a little bit about the kids in Mauritius before, and the fact that you had seen a bit of a change in them, and that you were hoping that more and more and more of them would find something that would deliver passion. So as spokespeople for passion, I think you're doing a pretty sweet job.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, it's definitely, I think, one of my main motivations. There's a couple key pillar things in life that really motivate me, and one of the main things is trying to kind of give back where things are needed. And I have learned so much over the last few years through the water sports world, and I have so much knowledge to offer and to give to the younger people that are actually not so much younger than me, but still have so much to learn. I'm learning every single day myself, but already in the position that I am now, I'm trying to, as much as I can, give in any kind of situation where maybe it helps someone, whether it's, through knowledge or through a surfboard or through a kite surf lesson or whatever it is, and I've mentioned this before, but, I say that the act of giving continues giving. And by passing on that knowledge or that surfboard or whatever it is, in my idea, hopefully one day, that will be continued to be passed down, just like many people. And especially, as I mentioned before about my mentors, really guiding me and giving me supports and advices and pushing me through the last couple of years. I want to continue that with, the next generation of people coming up. So yeah, there's a lot to do and a lot to give back, and that's definitely one of my key pillars of motivation for sure.
Oh, nice. Yeah, thanks for sharing that with us. To stem back to your school, what did you find teaching came naturally to you as an athlete, and what roles do you play versus what your brothers do?
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of the teaching side of things, I'm a very patient person, so I really enjoy teaching. I love like seeing people progress, and that's it excites me, when I see the progression, because I've been in situations where I've tried, for example, like we spoke about the triple front roll. It took me years to be able to do it, but the day you actually do it feels like the best moment in your life, and so many times if I'm teaching someone, I see that time the first time they ride upwind, for example, either kite surfing and wing foiling, and then it goes straight back into that moment. So I think about it every single time of the first time I went upwind kite surfing 10 years ago. So, and I can just see the face, the excitement, the stoke on the people's faces. And, that for me just like it's just such an unreal feeling. So I really think like teaching, when you teach, you learn a lot about yourself, about how to teach, and so much more. But also the reward that you get from teaching and seeing someone else progress is just amazing, So yeah, it's great. At the moment, I'm more focused on the business side of things, understanding how to run the business, keep things going. There's so much to it, which kind of is really behind the scenes. And I'm sure, like obviously I jump on the podcast with you, and, it's just for me, it's a calendar schedule in my calendar that I jump on. But for you, there's countless hours sorting out the call this call that we just had, clipping it, making sure that it's right, editing it, posting it, marketing it. There's so much behind it which people don't see, and it's the same in any business. So for me at the moment, it's more behind the scenes stuff at the center. And obviously I'm at the beach as much as possible, on the water and off the water at the center. And my two brothers are, pretty much running it. They're managing it. They're both younger than me, but they're both, super motivated. And it's so cool to, like you said, have this like almost family business kind of thing. And, it's really cool to see them individually excel in different things, and it's just, for me, it's amazing to have them a part of it, because there's no one that I would trust more than, my two brothers to be a part of it with me, so I'm very excited to grow together with them, to grow the center, not only for, like for Le Morne and Mauritius. It's not about me, even though it might be called Willow Surf Centre. It took me a very long time to be comfortable calling it, basically after my name. But, it's about creating an experience that people can come and enjoy kite surfing, wing foiling, surfing in a different way to how it's done before. At least that's what we strive to do. So yeah, it's a very exciting times, and very, very stoked to see where it goes.
Oh, nice. That's cool. Yeah. And because I talked to Tom Hartman, he lives on Mauritius too. It's definitely on my list now. I saw some of that, and I would love to come out.
Anytime, man. If you want to get over there, and anyone else that's wanting to get over to Mauritius, just come. It's like such an amazing place. There is so much to do, and obviously, apart from the amazing water sports that you can do, swimming at whales, swimming at dolphins, everything that evolves around the water is just amazing. But apart from that, there are so many different things to do. You have amazing waterfalls, huge waterfalls, hikes, mountains, mountain biking. The list goes on. And it's just such an unreal place to be in, to obviously live. It's just, it's kind of, most people could only dream of it. So I'm very grateful to be based in such an amazing place. And like I said, bro, if you ever want to come over, everything's there. Everything's, you don't need to bring equipment. We have plenty enough for that.
Hey, that's good for everybody to know, because everybody now around the world are looking for different cool new spots to go to. So it's awesome to make this connection for them, and for myself as well, to chat a bit more about you. Are you interested in talking a little bit about the new line from Core? Because I was at AWSI and I tried out the new wing and I loved it. It was really cool. It pumped well. The skinny boom that I had was really good. And Michael Phaneuf there, he's going to be coming on the show as well to talk about gear in detail as well. But let's start from your perspective, because I know you've been heavily involved with it.
Yeah, so it's definitely an amazing new line, and Michael will definitely elaborate more on all the detail side of things. I'll just share my point of view and not get too deep into the details. But you know, for a long time we've obviously, well, for a long time we've been working on the wing foil division, and last year we released our first products, which was the XC, the Roma, the Spectrum. That was the first range, and that was a very all-round, user-friendly, from beginner to pro, let's say. It covered everything. And this year we wanted to, as the sport is growing so rapidly and so quickly, we wanted to bring out something that is more high end, that is for the riders and people that really want to push themselves, push their limits. And so that's why we brought out the Halo Pro, which is the Lula wing, which is the one you tried out recently. The Roma S, which is the carbon fiber wing foil board, and then also the Vert foil range, which is obviously our carbon mast, very small, high aspect foils, and in all, that kind of setup is more a progressive line. Hence why it's called the Halo Pro. It's an Alula wing that is extremely light, very rigid. It's such an amazing wing for freestyle. But even for waves, you know, I'm not too much into the freestyle side of things, but the wave riding, obviously, as I had the best waves in Mauritius, it is so nice to have such a light wing, you know. And I've been testing Alula for the last 2 years now almost. And, you know, it's just crazy to have something that's so light, so easy to handle, just float behind you when you're carving down these waves. You almost forget it's there. And then obviously for the freestyle side of things, you know, like it just holds its shape so well. So whether you're jumping, like I love jumping off waves and kickers in Cape Town, because you'll have 45 knots. And, you know, with this Alula wing, it just holds its structure so well and it's shaped so well because it's so rigid that when you boost off a wave and, you know, let's say when you start coming down, it's not really starting to collapse. It just holds its shape, holds its structure.
Yeah, good point.
It's just, it's something that, you know, you really have to feel when you're riding to understand kind of what I'm talking about, because, you know, it's one thing looking at a wing and seeing, oh yeah, the shape's good, and, you know, how it looks good. But the one thing when you get onto the water and actually feel how it rides is a totally different experience. So yeah, I absolutely love it. I love the new mini boom. In the beginning, I really was not for it. I was almost against it because I was like, it's too much windsurfer style. And I've obviously tried windsurfing and I have nothing against windsurfing, but I was like, there's no need, you know. I thought it would be extra weight, you know, it's longer, thicker. But, you know, now we've figured out that it's actually lesser weight than the two handles, because you have less two insert points where the handles connect. So you only have two spots instead of four spots where the handle connects to the wing. So it's actually reduced the weight. And obviously with the Lula, it's even lighter than it would be. So yeah, it's becoming such an amazing wing. It's my go-to wing and the only wing I really use now, because it's just, yeah, obviously the more higher performing wing. And then I'm using the Roma S, the new board that's just come out. And yeah, there's two different sizes at the moment, 38 liter and 45, if I'm not mistaken. Those are like our carbon pro level boards, obviously, because they're quite small. We will sometime next year be having two bigger sizes, in a slightly more, not downwind shape, but a little bit longer, kind of skinnier boards. So around 63 to 75 liters, if I'm not mistaken. That will come out sometime next spring. But, you know, the board is obviously, for me, it's one of the main crucial things, because going from a 55 liter Roma, which is a great board, and I used it a lot, now to a nice 38 liter, which is, you know, small, compact, and exactly what someone like I would need or use. It's just amazing, you know. It's compact, it's small, it's agile, and, you know, when you're surfing waves, you know, I need a small board like that, you know. So I'm very stoked to have those small boards, and, you know, I think people underestimate how small of a board they can go. I've seen really good wing foilers still using 70 or 90 liter boards, when, you know, if they would try, let's say, the Core 55 Roma, you know, it's so quickly, you can progress so quickly to be able to get onto a 55 liter Roma, just because how stable it is. yeah, it's crazy. But I mean, obviously, it depends on the conditions, and it depends on the spots that you're going out. You know, in Mauritius, we're lucky to have very stable winds around 15 to 25 knots, depending on the
Okay.
day. So, you know, it's predominantly it's pretty good conditions. You know, so I can go out on a 45 or 38 leaderboard and feel confident. You know, that getting in and out is not going to be an issue. You know, because the winds blow from morning till night almost. And then my favorite thing is obviously the smaller foils, as this is something I've been working on for a long time. I've had multiple prototypes, and we have a new kind of we have a high aspect 1250, which is kind of a nice wing for downwinders, for either stand-up paddle downwinders or wing foil downwinders. And that foil is just so efficient. It's got crazy good glide. And then we have the 850 and the 700. Obviously, the 700 is the foil I use the most, as you know, in Mauritius we have quite big waves often, and that's the kind of adrenaline rush I'm chasing. And so, obviously, the smaller the foil, the better. I've gone through all the sizes. We did have some smaller sizes around the 500 mark, but obviously, you know, there's so few people that would actually need a 500 that right now we've stuck to keeping the smallest one a 700. Which, to be honest, for most conditions I ride in, big or small, it covers everything. You know, for me, I love having a foil that doesn't feel like it has a speed limit. I love going as fast as I possibly can, you know. So if I'm dropping into a big wave, medium-sized wave, small wave, I want to have as much speed as possible so I can bank the hardest turns and really feel the G-force when banking those turns, you know. So I really try and ride the smallest foil I could possibly find, even if it means I have to use the wing and pump a little bit more. I'd rather have a small foil and a big wing than having a big wing and a big. I'd rather have a small foil and a big wing than having a small wing and a big foil. For me, it's so important just to have that kind of an uncapped speed limit or no speed limit on my foil. And so yeah, the new range is, I'm in love with it. I've been using it over the last few months, or over the last year, let's say, but since it's been released, the official product since the last couple months, and I'm actually just enjoying it so much, you know, and now not having to hide all these products that I've been using for so long, you know, because everyone's like, it looks like you don't wing foil anymore. You're not posting on social media, this and that. I'm like, well, I'm riding gear that can't be seen. So obviously I'm not sharing anything. But as soon as it's out, you know, that I'm, you know, full on and sharing all the latest equipment.
Nice. And I think last time we were talking, we were trying to rebook this part of the show, but some big swell came through Mauritius. So obviously you're getting to ride all this stuff in that. How does it feel, just to go back to a little bit about you, how does it feel to do a banking turn on a wave that big? And how long did it take you to not pearl or kind of smack over kind of thing? Obviously the new gear, I'm relating it to gear because the new gear is so much better. And are you finding that it's becoming more and more and more in tune with the riding, meaning that you don't have to think about it as much? It's kind of more intuitive, like a race car is, versus like the old Civics that we kind of started with?
Yeah, 100%. So, you know, not talking about this, let's say, this exact big swell, because unfortunately it was so big. It was one of the biggest swells that we've had in the last decade. Every single boat was out of the water. There was no chance for any rescue. So for me, it's just not worth the risk heading out. Obviously, I did surf at certain spots, and I charged pretty solid waves. But unfortunately, I couldn't wing foil it, as that would have been obviously my go-to thing to do. But Mauritius has banned jet skis, and as soon as the waves get really big, it's just too dangerous with a boat. But in the past, you know, with let's say when we did the photo shoot for all this equipment that's just got released, which was in May, we had really big days, which you probably have seen maybe in the campaign. And, you know, it's exactly like you said, you know, the gear is becoming more in tune with the riding of the rider. And, you know, for me, I have like 100% confidence in the equipment that I use. That's one thing that I love about riding with Core, is that I know that everything we produce and everything that comes out is just top-notch German quality. You know, I know it's not going to fail under me. I know it's not going to break. You know, I can go 50, 60, 70 kilometers down a wave that's, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 meters behind me. And I know that in that moment, there's no single thought in my mind that I don't know, my wing is going to snap off, or my board is going to break off, or the mast base is going to pull out. There's not a single thought in my mind. And, I think that's super important when you're riding on the water, especially when you're venturing out into something you're a little bit more uncomfortable in, because again, obviously going out in huge waves, it's not that you lose, it's not like I have no fear, you still have that fear inside you, but it's just how you deal with it. And so by eliminating, the thought of, is my gear going to break? Am I going to be worried that, when I crash, that, I don't know, my foil is going to disappear or going to get ripped off my board? And eliminating all of those things makes you 100% focus on the moment when you're dropping down that wave. And so, yeah, I think it is definitely getting more in tune with the rider, and it's the fine line is getting smaller and smaller. That, right now it's becoming, I think, the riders, let's say, tasks to improve themselves, because the gear and the equipment has reached a level where the rider and the equipment is on par almost, so yeah, it's definitely very interesting times.
So given the fact that you're charging like that, obviously you're working on all this different training. Can we talk a little bit about your training and maybe jump into food and even breath holds? Because I just talked to Steve, a buddy of mine from Maui, and we're going to have him on to go over the basics of breath holds, because I think it's important for all of us to at least have some idea. You can get held down, or you can get under your gear, and if you can't hold your breath for more than 15 seconds, you might get into trouble. But
yeah, so I mean, for me, it's a lot in your head. That's something I've had to work on a lot, is just to remain calm. And obviously, since I've been doing this for so many years, I've started to realize more and more that it's all in my head, because my body is strong. I know I'm fit enough. I know I eat well. I've been eating vegetarian most of my life and been vegan the last couple of years, and I feel that works for my body the best. I know all of those things, in terms of like my health, and my body is at its, as best as I think I can be. I mean, obviously there's always places to improve, but, I feel definitely fit in myself. But it all comes down to, mentally where you're at, and there's been many days that I didn't go out because, my mind wasn't in the right place, I mean, obviously I'm not riding 30, 25 meter jaws or something like that, but, I'm riding pretty solid waves, pretty big waves compared to, the average person, and so obviously there is certain training you have to do. And, recently I've got big into my freediving. It took me a long time to be able to learn how to equalize, because I have kind of some issues with my canals in my nose. So I really struggled to equalize most of my life. But in the last year, or maybe 2 years, I've gotten really into the freediving. And, that's 100% a mind game. You're diving under the ocean, 20, 25 meters. You got basically a swimming pool on top of your head, and the pressure down there, and knowing to keep calm, to keep yourself in the right place, your head in the right place, and not to panic, if the current gets strong down there, or if it gets dark, or, all of that is so important, So I think for me, it's a lot learning about yourself, learning about what you can handle, what you feel comfortable in. I'm a very risk averse person. So, I really check every single little thing when it comes to, I don't know, going out on a big day. I make sure, is the boat ready? Did I sleep right? Do I have the right people with me going out? Do I have someone that's there that's purely for rescue? Like at this previous shooting, we brought Joshua Manuel from South Africa just to be rescued for us, because we don't have jet skis. A wing foiler can't just go into the impact zone and tow you out. So we had Josh on a kite, and out of anyone, I chose him because I knew if whatever happens, he's mentally there and strong enough that he would grab me if I'm unconscious or conscious and drag me out of the impact zone, So there's all of these little things that you have to kind of assess that, it doesn't really just come down to, what your body looks like or what you're eating. There's so many things to it. And so for me, I think that the main thing is, all kind of understanding what's going on in your head.
Okay, fair enough. Are there any exercises or things that you do on a consistent basis, or is it just based on your career in this and you've found things that work well?
Well, I mean, so obviously I run and I cycle loads. I was very much into triathlon the last few years. So that's for me, one, a strong mental game because, if you're running, I don't know, long distances or if you're trying to run every day, that's a mind battle in itself, every
Yep.
single day, or every single run. You're constantly feeling like, is there a niggle in my knee? Or, I'm having cramps or, maybe today is not the right day. All of that starts to go play in your head and it's about like, pushing it and seeing how far you can push those thoughts away, and so for me it's a lot about the mental side of things. So that's why I love cycling and I love running because
Okay.
that literally ticks off both of those things.
It's all mental.
I'm very exactly, it's all mental. I've run quite a few marathons which we spoke about, and I think running is such a good way to practice just that and fighting the mental game. And I always call it, David Goggins, calls it training for life, So, it's literally training to face any obstacle that comes your way. And that's why I run. That's why I surf. That's why I kite. That's why I cycle, because you're training for anything that might come your way, whether it's a big wave, a big set that's closing out on your head, or if it's something that happens in your life and you're thrown completely into the deep end, so it's for me, it's all just about training for life, and any obstacle that comes your way, you're going to find a way to tackle it.
Yeah, that's a nice way to bring it all together.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, obviously, breath hold is an important factor if you're going into the waves. So if you're in a location where you are able to free dive, never do it alone. Always do it with a partner or a dive buddy or someone. But free diving is such an amazing way to improve your breath hold, but also improve your comfortability in the water. I've pushed through so many fears I've had of mine, obviously, being in the water every day. Yeah, I have a big fear of drowning, and I know there's many people that have that fear, especially going into bigger waves or even small waves. It can happen. It can happen literally in knee deep water if you really, if something really happened. But really learning to focus, hold your breath, relax, be calm, and really learn to free dive. Even if you're going 1, 2, 5, 10 meters underwater, there's so much that goes through your head, and you really just have to zen it out, calm it down, and dive. And for me, that's one of the best practices, and obviously at the same time it improves your breath hold, which is great, so yeah, I think my longest breath hold static, which is basically just lying flat in a swimming pool, is around 3 minutes 50 or so. So it's quite long, but definitely can be way longer, but even getting to that point, it's literally, I know I can hold my breath longer, but it's just the fight that's going on in your head. It's unreal. It's so funny because in the same day I did a breath hold, kind of training, and in the morning, like a couple, static holds before, I was doing 1 minute 40, and I thought that was my max, and by just practicing and improving and doing different breath work and obviously calming down your heart rates and your mental state, you could double it easily. It's crazy. It's honestly crazy. It's so funny how your mind plays tricks on you. It's insane.
Oh yeah, even like a 10-second breath hold, if you're not used to it, you're freaking out and you're thinking you're going to pass out. And yeah.
No, exactly. And I mean, I have way more. And it's funny to think about, because just the other day there was another big swell on last Wednesday, and I went surfing, and it was 12 to 15 foot. It was really big waves. I had my gun out, and normally if I go out for a surf, sometimes I have the feeling, if it's even 5 to 6 foot, that I get smashed. And even though I know it's not going to hold me, let's say more than 10 seconds, you're like, oh, is it going to hold me? Is something going to happen? Am I going to like freak out now? And because this wave's landed on my head and I'm a bit in a wrong position or something. But then you go out and double the size or triple the size, kite surfing or surfing, but you're mentally prepared for it because you're going into the day knowing that you're going to get held down for long. Knowing you're going to go out in big waves. I'm in a completely different state. I get smashed and I'm just calm. I'm relaxed. I'm getting held down for as long as I've ever been held down. And I come up and I'm like, oh wow, that's it, But it's because I went prepared into that situation than not prepared. So it's about training for those situations where you feel prepared. And myself have so many sessions where I don't go in feeling, you go out, it's a small day today, nothing's going to happen. And those are the days when things actually happen, and I've had my scariest moments, But going into something when you feel prepared helps, hugely. So yeah, it's a very interesting thing. It's all, I think, in your mind, and it's for me just about learning how to handle that, how to look at it, and it's definitely a crazy thing. So yeah.
100% is. And it's just nice to hear that from somebody that charges like you do, because I think a lot of people use it. I think that's just human nature, right? To use it as an excuse as to what is to cap your human potential, and to see that we've talked about your 10,000 hours. We see all the love and passion and dedication you put into it, how your life revolves around this, and this has enabled you to then push that mental state even further, to then give back, but then also find out that you can achieve things a lot more than you think you can. So it's just, thanks for sharing all that with us, because even for myself, who's looking at making sure that I can improve my breath hold and get myself in better swimming shape to be able to charge a little bit more, it's nice to see that we all have to push those barriers, and behind those barriers could be something pretty awesome. It doesn't have to be fear or death or anything insane.
Yeah, 100%. Like, without a doubt, anyone is capable of doing so much more than we think we can. And I love David Goggins' method on a lot of things in life, and one of his main quotes is, when you think you're at your 100%, there's still 40% more that you actually can give. And he's like, when you think you're at your 100%, you're probably only at 60% of what you actually possibly can give, and that's been in my head so much. And every single marathon I've done, I get to, 20 or 30 Ks, and I think I am finished. I have no more left in me. And still somehow you manage to get the end, because every single step you take, okay, it's only a couple steps more, and it's getting shorter and shorter every time. And, especially if you do see your goal and you know what your goal is, it gets even easier when you start to put the next foot forward and put the next foot in front, and, everything gets closer. So the closer you get, actually, the easier it gets to your goal. But, without having that goal in mind, or without having that certain distance that you're going to run in mind, you kind of run lost, not knowing how far you can go. So I think it's definitely important to set your goal, to set, your breath hold, what you want to get it at in a month from now. And then you know what you have to do. You have to practice, and so that's, for me, been one of the main things why I've loved running, is because running has really allowed me to challenge myself, to push myself beyond that. I hated running. I never thought I would ever run a marathon in my entire life. And I've literally fallen in love with it just because of that exact reason, is that it pushes my body, my mental state so much, and it challenges me every single run I go on. That's the main reason why I run these days.
Okay, fair enough. And then you can take that and apply it to any kind
everything.
of everything. Cool. Hey, is there anything else you'd like to talk about, Willow?
No, I just want to say thank you for all that you do for the wing foiling world, and it's so cool to see your podcast growing, and it's amazing to be a part of it, and I'm so stoked to see where it goes. So I just want to tell you to keep it up.
Appreciate it.
If everyone can give you a round of applause, I know you won't hear it, but at least people will be doing it from wherever they are, and just keep pushing at it, just keep doing it, and it's so valuable for every single wing foiler, every single person out there that listens to it. So don't underestimate the value that you're putting into the world by doing what you do.
Hey, appreciate it, man. Absolutely. Yeah, we're a small team, and it's pretty much volunteer at this point. So it's nice to see people reach out and say, hey, thanks, I learned something, or just for them to enjoy, like talking with you or talking with the other people that I have on. They send some questions sometimes, so I appreciate it. Hey, thanks a lot.
For sure, bro. Definitely. 100%.
All right, everybody. Well, hey, thanks for joining us, and I'm sure we'll have him back on in the future. So thanks a lot for joining us tonight.
Thanks a lot, guys.